Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to Galactic War. I thought it was important to have one of these. We haven't had one in a while, but mainly to mark the release of the open beta that just went down like a day ago, maybe 2 days ago now. Up until now, of course, it's been closed beta, and only those people who made contributions to the Indiegogo campaign or directly to ZEP subsequently were allowed access to the beta. But that is a thing of the past. It is now free and available to all. I don't want to go into any real detail about how you sign up for the beta, mainly because Swackle has already done that in a very informative video, and if you haven't seen that, I will post a link to that in the description below this video. And if I haven't done that by the time you're watching this because I've forgotten, just yell at me in the comment section and I will get that done. So to mark the release, I thought we'd have a match between the rather insidious, invasive, nasty, unattractive, smelly old Seraphim and the brave, honourable, attractive, intelligent, steadfast UEF. Well, I'm not sure they're honourable, but you get the picture. The people you want to be joining. That's my little recruitment pitch there. Many of you might not know that during the closed beta we were doing rather well because we had Blackheart and Voodoo and a few other people just religiously going after the game map. So most of the map was blue. It was all looking very rosy up until the point of the open beta, and then everything started going wrong and it's going all multicolored again. So we need more people, we need more help. Come join the brave UEF. Anyway, that's my pitch over. Like I say, it's going to be a game between the Seraphim and the UEF, and it's going to go down on the map of Last Exile. So let's go over to the game zone now and see how they're going to get on. So of course, Last Exile, I'm not sure if I've actually cast any games on this at all. But just give a quick bit of coverage in case you're not very familiar with this map. As you can see, it's got a very large internal pond area and a very wide open sea, and the essential band that runs around the outside where most of the base building is going to occur is incredibly thin in nature, so you're going to be very, very vulnerable from either the internal pond or the open sea around the edge. There is a little bit of coverage in certain areas around the map. The relief of the land goes up at the edges. Certainly in this middle little island section, you've got 6 mechs you can go for there and a hydrocarbon, and direct fire naval units might have a little bit of trouble with bombarding that, but certainly will pose no threat for the missile-based ships, of which of course Seraphim and UEF are specialists. So expect Navy to feature quite heavily in this one. I would be surprised if it doesn't. The largest cliff edges seem to be around this section here, and actually seems like it might be impassable as well, so you won't be able to get land units crawling up the side of here, I shouldn't think. But you never know, especially not when you haven't played it yourself, which I haven't, so I might be talking complete gubbins. So let's take a look at the players and their locations. Of course, Galactic War, so we don't actually know who the players are. We can only see their avatars. This one for the UEF, Pearline Melby, or Melby, has decided to go first and second land. And Pearline Melby is considerably easier to say than the Seraphim names. And I will be, over the course of all these videos, referring to Seraphim forces or UEF forces when I refer to the teams or the players, mainly because I don't want to continuously try and fight or wrestle to say names like Thuh-Tutuhahua or whatever that is, Tutuhahua. Thuh is the rank, same as Sergeant on Pearline Melby, but yeah, it's basically not going to happen. I know it would be very amusing for you guys if I did. It might get a little bit old after a while, but I'm going to bow out of that one. Anyway, this particular commander has decided to go first land, second air, and although I might know who some of the commanders are in casting these games, I'm not going to refer it to you because that would be rather well, a shame. It would let the proverbial cat out of the bag and amongst the pigeons and all of those other cheesy metaphors that we like so much. But anyway, we see the first few scouts making contact up at the top. Snoop versus Selen, so both these guys sending a little bit of intel up here and a few units this way. UEF investing slightly heavier in the aggression side of things. Got a few few strikers over here as opposed to the single Tham that's racing up to meet them. But we have got a little bit of movement down here at the bottom from the UEF commander. He's making his way around the bottom edge, in contrast to the Seraphim commander, who's very firmly anchored in the center of his base. Going to keep that build capacity around that area, use that to build up his base a little quicker. We are already seeing some air units on the field from the Seraphim. And finally, that was paused a minute ago for the UEF. He's starting to work now on some interceptors. I'm going to call him he, even though that's a female avatar. But I think it's ever so much more likely that it's going to be a he. So that's how I'm going to be referring to him, even if that does seem a little bit strange. We're going to have to make allowances for the mechanics of the language of this. I hope you'll bear with me, but I'm sure you will, because you're all so lovely. That's why I keep coming back. But Pearline on the way now has reached kind of the central, middle, southern section, and Seraphim forces trying to wall off this section. That might be a little bit optimistic. I don't think like we said before, the ACU will be able to scale this cliff face, but he will be able to just go around the edge here through the beach. So I suppose that would serve to bottleneck the T1 land units, but it won't achieve much else. And indeed, that engineer is in danger of getting a full-on ACU blapping in the face, which I think is probably what's going to happen. There it goes. Build queue cancelled. Thank you very much. How is the Seraphim going to respond is the question. His ACU is way up here, and he immediately turns around. Where's he going? He is turning around to come back to defend the base. He realizes how far forward that UEF ACU is, and the intentions are obviously to do as much damage or cause as much damage to his base, so he needs to return and defend. Both of these mechs is going to go down. He leaves that one on just 88 hit points to turn around and grab that mass point. But for the moment, both of these guys, well, there's not much in it. It's 20 odd-ish mass apiece, fluctuating here and there. At the moment, no real divergence in the economies, but a little bit of a drop happening here from the Seraphim. This could change it around. It's going to give him access to all 6 of the mechs in here. It looks like it might be a slightly tough one to hold, but if he can grab the middle pond as well, the Seraphim, that will make that quite a nice position. It'll be a tough one for the UEF to get back. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But that's a lot of UEF land units on this land bridge, but bombers in the area, and that's going to cause a little bit of an air fracas. More bombers coming off the conveyor belt. In fact, that seems like a firm commitment to the bombing game at the moment from the Seraphim. He's repeatedly been throwing out T1 bombers, and I think he has maybe enough interceptors to keep those bombers safe. That was a nice bomb. 3 land units biting the dust there from the UEF. And UEF ACU forced into the water for the moment. Seraphim ACU coming to join the action, wants to reclaim those 2 mexes, or those 2 mass points, I should think. But immediately spots that commander and walks up, starts construction of a T1 torpedo launcher. That's going to be enough to force UEF commander to abandon that position, or at least retreat slightly. But that's a lot of units that Seraphim has up there at the top. UEF in full retreat needs to link up with these reinforcements that are on the way. I think this is going to be very much a ebb and flow up here, a little bit of a tug of war in terms of territory as different groups of reinforcements meet up with the band. Of course, UEF have the slight advantage on the land game in terms of HP. Natural advantage they have. That's why people call them the newbie race, because you can just select and move. You don't have to think too much about micro, or you have to think less about micro than the other factions. But spots the Zooies sitting at the edge of the coastline here, moves in to take them out. Down they go. But UEF is actually the first to throw together a naval factory in the central pond, and I do like that move considering Seraphim has taken the central island. Are they aware of that? Yes, they are. Their planes have flown over. So that is a wise decision to go for the central pond instead of the open seas. He needs to deal with those, mainly because you can see 31 to 27 mass in favor of the Seraphim at the moment. So he needs to deal with that and knock out some of those mexes as soon as he can. Another engagement kicking off on the northern band of land, the northern strip. See a large queued up section of wall sections there. Seems to be the point at which he wants to make his stand. It just seems to be going a little bit better up here at the top for the Seraphim, but I suppose in terms of the outer band, it's still looking at 60% control there for the UEF. You can hold them around about here and still threaten this base. This could be a problem, but the Seraphim have thrown a naval factory into the mix very close to the base. I like that play. That should be easy to defend. You can always throw together a little bit of static artillery, a T2 artillery piece or something, to help prevent any naval issues from becoming a problem. But that's a frigate versus a sub, and that's going to go badly for the UEF, of course. Not going to be able to fight back against that. He's wisely switching up the Tiger shots there, the subs for the UEF. Needs to get a handle on that now that he realizes that the Seraphim have gone for the naval game in this central pond. But now a little bit of respite. Looks like UEF posturing to make an incursion, but we have a transition to T2 tech and a T2 point defense that was hastily thrown together. Is going to cause some problems, but nonetheless UEF committing to this attack. It's also going to try throwing together a defensive position of his own, spamming together a triad as quickly as he can. What kind of fire radius does that give us? That's well within that forward defensive section. How is the intel for the Seraphim? He can see that, so it's going to be PD versus PD, but the UEF win that battle, and immediately commander starts construction of a second triad. Forward comes the Seraphim ACU with the gun upgrade. Huge rate of fire, nice overcharge landing on top of that triad. The UEF commander, though, unfazed, going to continue working on that triad, manages to complete it. So that is going to mean Seraphim commander going to continue to take a large quantity of fire. And ACU placed in front of the triad there to distract the Seraphim from working on that PD, using his hit points as a natural buffer. And that's a nice little bit of play. It's nice, sturdy, brave play from what is already, of course, a very brave and honorable commander, because of course he's UEF. But he's doing rather well. He's having a victory on the top as well. He's managed to break down this little fortification up here at the top, and a huge mass field that's accumulated up here as well. Things suddenly not looking too good in the outer band for the Seraphim, but look at this, 41 mass to 27, definitely looking good on the eco front. How much of that is tied up in core T2 mass upgrades? Well, quite a lot. We've got 4 T2 mass points, and if this incursion continues from this little point defense creep that we've got going, this could be major headaches for the Seraphim. UEF ACU trying to throw together an air cleaner to shoo away this Thuh-Tutuhahua, this T2 gunship. Manages to complete it, and away goes that gunship. He's not going to be able to get any more traction on these triads, but they now switch up to finish off this naval factory. That will hand him a small advantage. Those Thuh-Tutuhahas redirected to the top, which has incidentally in the meantime been cleared out. Units of build capacity coming forward on a reclaim mission. They're going to get absolutely slaughtered. How are we actually doing on reclaim? Well, UEF rocking 4,200 or 4,300 mass banked, as opposed to the 6,500 for the Seraphim. So Seraphim having the better of the eco and reclaim in this game, but continuously having to retreat. Never get into a point defense war with a evenly matched player who's going UEF when you're not UEF, because you are at an instinctual disadvantage. 2,100 hit points on that PD for Seraphim, as opposed to the 2,250, and of course the triad puts out more damage as well. That's why they are the turtle race, and onwards continues the point defense creep, and Add insult to injury. A few strikers being sent into the base as well. Seraphim commander fighting bravely, I'll give him that. Firing away at those triads, using that ranged advantage he's got, but there's not a great deal left of his base. However, having some success over on the other side has driven the UEF forces way back on that top band. And the priority has switched to anti-air from these core factories for the moment to shoo away these Vulthus. He's managed to do it, at least for the moment. But he hasn't got a lot on the ground. He should want to turtle up in here to stop these units, which will surely be coming that way anytime soon, I would imagine. And a mass deficit now incurred in favor of the UEF. UEF forces take the lead in the mass game. All 4 of those T2 mexes have bitten the dust, and I would say that is a broken base. So Seraphim going to have to push around the top and go for a base trade, I think. He wants to get back in this. Land forces knocking out units of build capacity. Lots of archers on the field, not going to be of great use. Thankfully, there's a lot of Zooies in here to help knock down these factories nice and quickly. They're busy producing strikers. Build capacity down here, queuing up a plasma cannon, a PD. Whether or not they'll be allowed to finish it is another matter. And more units arriving on the scene all the time for the Seraphim. Seraphim could do with getting his commander over here and using that extra damage he's got on that gun to help clear out that base, but a little bit of harassment going on now from the UEF in terms of T1 bombers. Doesn't get a huge amount done going after those T2 PDs, but they just seem to shrug that damage off. That's enough anti-air to stop him from having another pass. But it's still very even on income between these two guys. Very intrigued to see what the Seraphim's next move is going to be. Of course, that is 4 mass points that really should be hoovered up at any moment. Quantum gate beacon, and that will be, I imagine, for reinforcements. Still not quite sure how that works myself. Perhaps someone could explain in the comments section. I know you can buy reinforcements for the game. I know players can donate reinforcements to you on your team. It's not a game-breaking amount, but it can be enough to turn a tide in a battle if it arrives at the correct time. But seemingly for the moment it seemed that the Seraphim Com has just wanted to protect these 3 land factories and this hydrocarbon. Hasn't wanted to leave that position. I really think he would have been much more used just moving straight over here and trying to grab this base. The opportunity might potentially have passed. But in terms of tech, of course, he's got T2 air, or at least he had T2 air. Whether that factory, that HQ, has been destroyed, I think it might have been in the main base. He's still got a couple of Vulthus down here. But he's managed to throw together another naval factory. However, this Tiger Shark and these 2 Thunderhead frigates have spotted it. Torpedo launcher gets thrown together nice and quickly by the build capacity, but it doesn't last to get rid of that Tiger Shark. ACU standing on the coastline is going to be able to provide incentives to those frigates to leave. But down goes this forward position, I imagine now. How is the Seraphim place to lose that hydrocarbon. Oh, I think he's got enough. He's built a fair few T1 PGens, and of course he's got the hydro in the center here. And he's actually a TAC missile launcher in place. I wonder if that's going to start going after Eco soon. And I'm amazed that the UEF comm hasn't managed to grab these before now. He's just starting to work on that. I know I probably wouldn't have had them in place by now, so it's a bit rich for me to talk, but this is clearly higher level play. Interesting game this, as we pass 23 minutes. It's quite an interesting map in general. I think it's going to make for interesting games. And of course at the moment it's not completely unique maps. There's a group of maps that I'm not sure if it's the map pool, the ladder map pool that's being used for the planets in conjunction, but nice TAC missile there, taking down 3 T1 PGens. And UEF deciding to go for Naval in the outside sea as well, and commit a little bit more to it as well. A lot of build capacity on there, and going straight for the T2 upgrade. I imagine this is where we're going to start seeing cruiser spam come into the fold. I guess if he can finish off this little band up here and confine the Seraphim to the inside, that'll be the perfect contain. If he can manage to complete the ring of fortification around here and then just kind of bombard the center from the outside, that would be a way to go. But down goes that factory. Nice TAC missile there from the Seraphim. So naval threat not completely removed for them in the center, but naval production has ended. He's just got about, what is it, 4 or so frigates and a submarine to be concerned about now. He's throwing together more naval yards all the time. Close proximity, you would think he could get his commander involved here. The UEF is going to start to move, and he's just going to have a line of triads with the occasional radar and buzzkill all the way around this ring if this continues. But Seraphim says, no, 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 that's far too close to my naval yards. Go away, thank you. And is going to take this opportunity to knock a couple of HP off the top of that comm. Hopefully there's a lot of triads in place to protect the comm. UEF commander Seraphim comm not going to push his luck. And now indeed we do have a T2HQ rebuilt and in place on that central island. And Seraphim commander being airlifted. How on earth is he going? Right to the bottom, so he is going to make an attempt, a little bit of a breakout here. That transport spotted by the UEF, but not in time to grab the snipe. Commander makes landfall nice and safely. And with these 2 mass points being taken down, it's going to be a moderate increase in the advantage that the Seraphim commander has on the eco side of things. Seems to be round about 7 mass ahead, or a couple of mass ahead. It's fluctuating all the time. We'll take a look at the reclaim factor. 15.5k banked for the UEF and 14.5 or a little bit over banked for the Seraphim. Both these guys relatively even, but he's not going to be able to keep these, I don't think. Governors appearing on the field. It's just going to be far too easy for him to knock out anything that gets placed, but the commander has different tack in mind. Seraphim comm advancing on the main UEF base. Nice overcharge there, grabs a couple of T1 PGens. And he could stand to cause some real damage here. 17,400 HP on the clock, 48 kills, so plenty of room to advance in terms of veterancy. And of course, large amount of damage kicked out from that gun. How much power can the UEF spare? Not a great deal. If you could go after the power grid in a big way, that would really hurt. There is, of course, an open hydro on the other side, which you could use. Doesn't have a lot of build capacity to get it up quickly, though. Still, UEF has these internal naval units, not a lot of them. Just going to bring them in here to harass the command a little bit. It's not going to be a lot of damage, but Tiger Shark at least can fire at the comm underwater. But a nice reclaim job there. Picks up one of the frigates. We have been working on a torpedo launcher. Not going to get that completed, though. At least not at the moment. Another frigate bites the dust to reclaim, and a third. So that leaves just a single solitary naval unit for the UEF on that inner pond. Now, of course, Governor's causing issues. We have a T2 Naval Factory HQ in place for the Seraphim, but it's under fire. Seraphim Com needs to erect some kind of TMD around this if he wants to hang on to this shipyard. First ship out is a destroyer. That was probably more in mind to help clear out this central sea so he could dominate it, and then to start work on the cruisers. I think that's what he's building now. It does seem that way. And a quick airdrop for a T2 engineer. Surely we'll see the construction of some TMD, and there it goes. Other units of build capacity redirected onto it to help finish that off. This is a nice, bold move. I like it. 14 hit points left on that factory. Finish it off with good measure. There we go. Nicely done. And focusing on the eco mainly at the moment. And this is quite surprising. Despite the map control that the UEF has, it's a 2-to-1 deficit in terms of mass eco. Maybe more than that. Certainly there was a lot of eco centered in this base. I think that was the 2 T2 mass points. He hasn't bothered to upgrade the other two. The UEF commander. Two Valiants firing away at the Seraphim Com from the other side of the land bridge. Strange game that this has turned into. This destroyer in submariner mode for the moment, firing at something, not exactly sure what. Now it's time for the UEF Com to get personally involved once again. He's moved forward with his commander. He's got the gun upgrade now himself. Takes a little bit of fire from a couple of Vulthus. I'm pretty sure that was the Governor's anti-aircraft fire, which dealt with those nice and quickly. This is going to become a real minefield for aircraft as this game goes on, and we're going to see more and more Seraphim and UEF cruisers appearing on the field. Muskill trying to keep up with the first few missiles coming out of that central pond. More factories being thrown together in the middle. Such a strange game, but one of them having been taken out already, and this is what the Seraphim Com has to do. He has to replace these. He's already written one of them off, and this is going to be his T2 HQ. I wonder whether it wouldn't have been an idea to go straight for the HQ on one of these ones. He's clearly going to lose that one. He's got a little bit of time. Starting work on some TMD immediately to try and protect these new factories. And he really has gone for about almost as central as he can get, as far away from the edges. See the kind of reach that the cruisers have. They haven't currently picked up a signature on those new shipyards yet. I think the order of business now for UEF is going to be to try and break the TMD with as much missile spam as he can get his hands on. And he seems to be having some good traction with it at the moment, not really taking out that many key targets. But there's more TMD being thrown together all the time in here. Could do with taking out this T2 P-Gen. That would be a real target of opportunity here. But look at this, 52 mass to 31, so there's a large mass advantage at the moment for the Seraphim Com, but he's in a bad position generally. And there's quite a lot of governors appearing now for the UEF. We've got 4 up here, another one's just rolled off down here. And that's really what this is going to be all about, I think. Get too many governors together, you're just not going to be able to keep up with the missile spam, no matter how many TMD you built, and certainly the primary targets at the moment are the TMDs. That's what he's going after. Needs a mode of attack to take out some of these governors. Not sure what, if anything, that could be. Such a strange position, this, for the Seraphim. Forced into this central island and pinned down. Manages to throw together a shield gen. Still working on TMD that will afford him some temporary protection. We can get some TMDs together. Lots of bingo on fuel interceptors flying around this central area. They're not going to be of much use at the moment. Has a single solitary torpedo bomber in the pile there. He is working on building more though, so that's the priority. But of course, incredibly difficult to take out large numbers of cruisers from the air. Seen it time and again. Anti-air ever so slightly better, I believe, on the Seraphim cruisers than the UEF, but still doesn't make life any easier, not really. And a little bit of cheeky reclaim going on from some engineers there. The UEF grabbing those 2 factories on the side there. And the Seraphim Com makes another appearance. He feels like he needs to get something done. If he could get in over here and somehow deal with this, although I don't know how he would manage it, might be able to reach it from the shoreline, but would need to take out the build capacity to knock down the repair rate. But he's doing a nice job with this cruiser. Might be able to take it down just from the inside. You see the range on those suckers. If you can knock that out, might just be able to claw this back. But once again, he's dipped below the UEF Com in terms of income. Just about. Seraphim Commander going after the base once again. Really needs to deal with the shipyards. These T1 factories of no consequence now, really. Needs to get more shields set up around here to protect these other mexes. And he's in danger of losing his T2 HQ again. Oh, but like Hitler, he changed from bombing the airfields at exactly the wrong time. But having said that, going after the economy is working just as well for him. And suddenly, 12 mass per tick only. That's 1 T1, 1 T2, and the commander bringing in lowly amount of mass. Lots of cruise missile fire colliding with the shields now. TMDs just not able to keep up, and he can't keep up with building them quickly enough because his eco has been so badly hit recently. He was doing so very well, but it's just too small an area to hold on to against this kind of general sprawl around the perimeter. It really is like a nasty yellow pustular infection in the center that's being burnt out by the nice blue medicine on the outside of the body. Actually looks like a CT scan of someone's chest cavity, albeit with a slightly strange, concerning growth on the chest there, but you know what I mean. And that shield collapses. The second one isn't far behind it. Question is, will a volley get in past the TMD fire? There it goes. Oh! And that first shield blinks on just in time. Seraphim Commander still trying to get stuff done, but really the key is to either take out that base. I suppose actually if you could get over here and get in and start reclaiming some of these cruisers, that might do something, but that's a lot of extra HP to get through. They'll just get on the move and move away, but it might buy him some time. But it's a little bit of a tall order. It might have been a little bit of a commitment to the torpedo bombers originally, but he hasn't been able to keep up with it. Wouldn't have probably been anywhere near cost effective anyway, but still. Now these shields have gone. That base is surely going to go the way of the dodo. Such a strange game. Huge quantity of scout planes at the bottom there for the UEF. Ready for a sweep. And really, I think that is going to spell the end of the game for Seraphim. I really don't see there's going to be any way back from this. 44 minutes gone. He's done remarkably well to cling on for as long as he has. And finally, we're seeing a little bit of a counter-attack from the Seraphim. He's managed to get a T2 HQ in place. He's managed to get a couple of cruisers out. Mass pausing of stuff going on so he can get as many buzz kills together as possible. Quick reclaim of some of his own strikers, of which they're not a great deal of use anymore. Symptomatic of the higher level play you'd basically never see lower level players do such a thing. They'll just hang on to that for the rest of the game. But a lot of power gens being thrown together pretty quickly down here. He's lost this central island. Still got 3 T1 mechs in place, but just 9 mass against 33, is it? Something like that. That is not a healthy situation to be in. Making a move towards this little bank of triads up here. A couple of triads and a mass pump. If you can grab and mechs, he thinks, as he might be able to get in touch with this game again, but cruisers having made their way round seems very unlikely. One triad down. He's never going to be able to get any mexes online with so many cruisers around here. And they're just building in number all the time. 12 governors on the field right now. And for what is essentially rather a small map, there's not a lot he can do. A lot of stalks in the air, a lot of torpedo bombers trying to get some damage on the comm, maybe going straight after him, but he's on 20,300 HP. That's not going to do a lot. They're not going to get another pass at him either because he's coming out onto land. And also there are 4 Seraphim cruisers now in the middle. You sort of think if you get enough Seraphim cruisers in the middle, this could get into a very strange stalemate situation. With no way for anybody to hold on to any land whatsoever, but it's going to be a little bit of a tall order all the same. Has the UEF spotted this group of P-Gens? Yes, he has. Can he reach those central factories? Not quite. You see, they're just a little bit too far from anywhere, so shrewd planting there. Occasional stalks going after the cruisers, though. Is he going to grab one of them? Yes, he does. Very painful indeed. Distance build through the cliff edge there from the comm. Manages to get another factory back in the middle. Gotta give it to this guy. He's just not giving up. A drop into the middle from the UEF. A bunch of strikers. Commander can scale that cliff though. It's no problem for him. He's able to knock them all out before any damage is caused. But another cruiser down and another, so he's down to just one, and I think this is surely spelling the end for the Seraphim. P-Gen's all but destroyed. He's just running out of stuff, and that is the recall beacon that's going to spell an end to this game. He put up a valiant fight. I think he's going to get away. I can't see there's any way that the UEF comm's going to be able to grab a snipe out of this. That recall command already half completed. Storks come in for another pass, going primarily after the cruiser though. Does manage to bag it. That commander is going to be safely away. So the Seraphim flees like the cowards they are. No, he put up a valiant fight. I would have left a long time ago. That is a really interesting map though. That I don't know if lots of games turn out that way or similar to that, but no doubt with the amount that we're going to be able to cover it in Galactic War, because of course not every single planet has currently got its own map, but that will be the case eventually. But we're likely to see a lot more of it. I'm not actually sure. Originally the Galactic War maps were just ladder. I'm not actually sure if this one is in the ladder because I don't play it that much, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. It was a little bit slow towards the end, 53 minutes in totality. A little bit slow towards the end, but definitely an interesting, if slightly sedentary match. Hope you enjoyed it anyway, guys. As always, more to come from me in the future. In the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.